When you make the choice to homeschool, a lot of the things that seem like they aren't working well, like you don't know what you're doing. You haven't picked your philosophy. You didn't even know there was a philosophy that you could pick. You haven't read all the books yet. You don't know about the curriculums. I had a family, you know how it is at those conferences. They come up and they say, this is our first year. We have no idea. And you think, how could you not screw your kid up if you have no idea versus here's a person who has a degree? And yet it's just those very parts of homeschooling that almost seem like you're going in the wrong direction that are the right thing. So for example, your child is seeing you learn something new. Your child is seeing you adjust as you go. And you're saying, we tried this curriculum, didn't like it. Let's try these BGU press materials, or let's try this. We read about this. Really, for me, it's like, okay, I read the John Holt thing. I'm going to try that. I read the family economy thing. Can we look at our home as an on-ramp? Can we grow our business enough so that we can hire one of our children, as they start to graduate as maybe a part-time job for them? We are looking at year 19 as business mentors. That's what we're looking at. We have a business, and that's only because I read that John Holt thing. The only reason I have a business is because we homeschooled, and because we were homeschooling, I read John Holt. See what I'm saying? It sort of snowballs. And so what happens over time, and this is the point, it's an overtime proposition, is that you look back and you say, okay, that time at 10 a.m. when I didn't have anything going on, I felt bad because the kids were bored and they were kind of poking at each other, and I felt like I was failing. That actually is the cream of the crop right there. That's what you want. You want those interactions between siblings. You want some of the boredom. You want the kids to see in real time, firsthand, how do you create a life you love?
I love
all of that.
Right.
And they're not pulling their hair out because they have no control, and they're sitting in a class being told what to do all the time. And they're sitting. Kids are meant to move. So I believe you can't do it wrong. Sometimes people will be like, there's people that neglect their kids. Well, I'm like, that's not homeschooling. If you're actually homeschooling, you cannot do it wrong. Even if you change your whole style, or even if you wish you were a little bit different than you are, even if you're struggling with the baby. Sarah McKenzie talked about that. She had a whole session on babies and toddlers that I sat in. It was lovely. There was like 1 million babies and toddlers in the room. And she was talking about, this is the family that God gave you. So God is going to give you grace. Don't wish away your baby. Don't wish away your toddler. Everyone is learning to be more selfless. Everyone's learning how to adjust for another person. Isn't that a wonderful thing? It's so wonderful. They're learning empathy. Did we talk about how there's this program called Roots of Empathy, where they hire babies to bring them into the classroom so that the kids will become more empathetic? Have we talked about that?
No, that's
We're talking
amazing.
too much, though. I don't even know how long this is supposed to go.
Great. No, I know. I quit looking at my watch a long time ago.
But it's an incredible program. And if you look around the homeschool environment, there's babies everywhere. So this woman told a story. Her name's Michelle Borba, and she wrote a book called Unselfie. It's about empathy. And empathy is dropping. Narcissism is rising. It's all coinciding with social media. And so there's this program out of Canada called Roots of Empathy, where they bring a baby in over the whole school year, once a month, and they'll set the baby in the middle of the middle schoolers. And, they'll say, what's the baby feeling? Don't be too loud, learning to adjust to the baby and to read the emotions. And so this Michelle told this story in her book about how one time they lost the baby. Did I tell you this?
No.
So that, they have this whole program. They bring the baby in. They set the baby in the middle of the circle. Then the program's over. They're like, where's the baby? The baby is missing. Like, they can't find the baby. They're looking everywhere for the baby. And they found the baby with a middle school age boy. And he's like standing over in the corner, and he's holding the baby and he's rocking the baby. Maybe he's 12 years old. And he'd had a really rough life. Like, parents are in jail, not around. And he said to his teacher, he said, if no one has ever loved you, can you still be a good father? I thought, that's the power of a baby, And I think sometimes we look at our situations and we're like, gosh, if only I could if only I was better at meal planning, if only I was more organized, if only we'd finished the lessons, if only I didn't have this toddler that was spilling things everywhere, if only I knew more, if only I'd studied more in school, if only I had a better degree. But I don't think any of that matters. I think life is about walking alongside your family and giving them the best shot that you can give them and loving them through it and knowing that over time. And one of the things I talked about at the keynote, which has really become apparent to me, is that what felt like a sacrifice at the beginning, walking away from a career, walking away from a pension, walking away from a salary, walking away from healthcare, in time turned out not to be a sacrifice at all and gave me...
But an investment. I think you mentioned that word. Yeah.
It gave all of us the best life that we could have ever had. But it took time to see it that way. And so I think you make the choice and then stick with it and wait for the fruit. It will come. It will come, but it comes in time.